Welcome. Two shadows never sleep. Here night never ends. And every story hides something waiting to be found. From haunted houses buried deep in forgotten American towns, to Halloween nights that went horribly wrong, and old legends whispered by those who claimed they saw something right before the lights went out. So sit back, turn off the lights, and let the shadows tell you what they've been keeping. Imagine a town where the last heartbeat was decades ago, but the whispers never stopped. What if the dust isn't just dust, but the lingering presence of something ancient and malevolent? Join us as we uncover the spine-chilling legends of forgotten ghost towns. Places where history isn't just written, it's screaming. Asterisk, they say no one remembers when Silent Hollow disappeared from the maps. But if you drive far enough past the last gas station on Route 19, you'll still see the cracked road sign pointing into the fog. Welcome to Silent Hollow population 481. The problem is, that number hasn't changed in 50 years, and no one who's ever gone there at night has come back the same. It was supposed to be just another travel vlog. Ethan and Mia ran a small YouTube channel, Abandoned Pussy, exploring forgotten towns and ghost stories across Japan and the US. They'd filmed inside train wrecks, decayed hospitals, even old mines. But when an anonymous viewer emailed coordinates marked the town that vanished, curiosity took over. It was 2 a.m., thunder rolling across the plains, when they reached the rusted Silent Hollow sign. Their car headlights cut through the mist, revealing streets lined with burned-out homes, rotting storefronts, and power lines that swayed though no wind was blowing. "Let's just grab some footage and leave," Mia whispered, camera shaking in her hand. But Ethan was already walking ahead, fascinated. "Look," he said, pointing at the ground. Bootprints, fresh ones, lead deeper into town. He followed them until they ended abruptly in front of a diner, half swallowed by vines. The sign still flickered faintly open. Inside, the air was heavy with dust and rot. The smell of burned meat lingered. A jukebox played softly in the corner, though it wasn't plugged in. The track was warped, repeating the same 6 seconds of a woman's laugh. "Maybe there's power from a generator," Ethan said, but his voice cracked. Mia zoomed in on a half-eaten meal sitting on a table, coffee cups still steaming. The clock on the wall ticked backward. Suddenly, a figure appeared outside the window. A tall man in a dark hat stood perfectly still, watching them. When Mia gasped and turned the camera toward him, he was gone. Only his reflection remained faintly visible in the diner's glass door. Ethan whispered, "Let's go." But before they could reach the door, every light in the diner turned on at once. The jukebox changed songs, now playing Don't Forget Me. Outside, the fog had thickened into a wall. Their car, which they had parked right by the sign, was no longer there. And from somewhere deep in the mist, a child's voice called softly, "You shouldn't have come back." Mia clutched Ethan's arm, trembling. "Back? What do they mean, back?" But Ethan couldn't answer, because in the window's reflection right behind them, the entire diner was full of people. Silent, smiling, and waiting. They say no one remembers when Silent Hollow disappeared from the maps. But if you drive far enough past the last gas station on Route 19, you'll still see the cracked road sign pointing into the fog. Welcome to Silent Hollow. Population 481. The strange thing is, that number hasn't changed in over 50 years. The town doesn't officially exist anymore, but the sign does, and so do the voices. People claim to hear when they stopped thereafter. Midnight. Ethan and Mia had built a small cult, following on YouTube with their channel Abandoned Pulse. They weren't the kind of explorers who chased ghosts for clickbait. They documented forgotten places, ruins left behind by people who once mattered. Their latest email, however, felt different. It had no name, no greeting, just coordinates and one line. "Find what's left of the hollow, but remember, it never wanted to be found." Ethan thought it was just another fan trying to spook them. Mia, on the other hand, couldn't shake the feeling that something about the message felt aware. like whoever sent it knew them personally, against their better judgment. They packed their gear, a few flashlights, and left early evening, driving through endless stretches of pine and fog. By the time they reached the turnoff, the GPS had stopped working. The air felt heavier, as if it carried something alive. The old sign appeared through the mist, like a memory resurfacing, silent, hollow. Pop 481. The letters were half-built, but the one was freshly painted, like someone wanted to make sure the number stayed complete. Ethan grinned nervously. Creepy enough for you? Mia gave a tight laugh, turning the camera on. This is Abandoned Pulse, and tonight we're documenting a town erased from every official record. Locals say everyone here vanished one night in 1974. No bodies, no smoke, just silence. Her voice trembled slightly, and the camera light cut through the fog, landing on rows of abandoned houses, windows boarded, lawns overgrown. But what unsettled them most was how clean the main street was. No dust, no trash, no animal prints, just emptiness that felt intentional. Then, Ethan noticed the footprints, deep and recent, leading down the cracked pavement. There's someone here, he said quietly. Mia zoomed in, realizing the tracks weren't just random, they formed a trail. They followed it to a diner that looked untouched by time. Its neon sign still flickered, open. The door creaked when Ethan pushed it, the bell above jingling faintly. Inside, everything was frozen in time, tables set, coffee cups half full, a pie cooling on the counter. Is this a setup? Mia whispered, her camera light sweeping across a wall clock. Its second hand ticked backward. A jukebox in the corner came alive with a crackle, playing a distorted song that sounded like laughter looped over and over. Ethan leaned closer. It's not even plugged in. Then the laughter warped into words, faint, slurred, but clear enough to make their blood run cold. Welcome home. Mia froze. What did it just? The window beside her fogged from the outside, forming 5 finger marks, long and deliberate, dragging downward. Ethan turned sharply. Through the glass, he saw a man standing on the sidewalk. A tall figure in a hat, completely still. Hey, Ethan shouted, stepping forward. But when Mia swung the camera toward the window, the man was gone. The glass reflected only them. Only now, something was wrong with the reflection. The man in the hat was behind them. Ethan spun around. Nothing, but the air suddenly smelled of smoke and rain. The jukebox stopped. The silence pressed against their ears. Then every light in the diner flickered on at once. The jukebox changed tracks. A soft, slow voice sang. Don't forget me, Mia whispered. We need to leave. But when they stepped outside, the fog had thickened so much they could barely see their hands. The road was gone. The car was gone. Only the sound of small footsteps echoed from the dark. Ethan, Mia whispered, something's moving. A child's voice answered from the mist, trembling and sweet. You shouldn't have come back. Ethan felt his throat tighten. Back? What do you mean back? No reply. Only the faint echo of laughter, now coming from inside the diner. They turned around and saw their reflection again in the window. But this time, the diner wasn't empty. Every seat was filled. Dozens of faces, pale and smiling, staring directly at them. And in the corner booth, where they had been standing just moments ago, sat a man in a dark hat, smiling wider than any human should. His eyes gleamed like glass. His mouth moved, though no sound came. But the words appeared on the fogged window, as if written from inside. We remember you. The fog didn't move. It shifted, like it was breathing. Ethan's flashlight flickered, cutting through it for a second before dying completely. He hit it against his palm, muttering dead batteries. We just charged them. Mia's voice was trembling. Ethan, look. The camera's red recording light blinked weakly, but the screen was black. She tried restarting it, but the lens glitched, showing only quick frames of something else. Old footage. Families in 1970s clothes, walking the same street. Children laughing. Then static. Then a single face filling the screen. The man in the hat. His eyes rolled upward, and the frame went black again. Mia gasped and dropped the camera. Ethan picked it up, heart pounding. It's just a glitch. Maybe old interference. No, Mia whispered. That was him. He looked straight at us. A sudden noise broke the air, faint ringing. The diner's payphone was ringing inside. Ethan stared at it. That thing isn't even connected anymore. Mia grabbed his arm. Don't answer it. He hesitated, staring through the window. What if someone needs help? The ringing didn't stop. It grew louder, more distorted, like it was coming from everywhere. Against his better judgment, Ethan stepped inside. The moment he crossed the threshold, the sound stopped. Silence again. Then the receiver swung slightly, as if someone had just let it go. Ethan lifted it slowly. Hello? At first, there was only static, then a faint whisper. You made it back. Who is this? Ethan's voice shook. We've been waiting, Ethan. He froze. How do you know my name? The voice was soft, distant, a child's tone. You left us here. You forgot. Child's tone. You left us here. You forgot. Ethan dropped the receiver, heart pounding in his chest. It swung back and forth, clicking lightly. Mia was standing by the door, pale as death. Who was that? He couldn't answer. He didn't know. But something deep in his memory stirred. A flicker of something he couldn't place. A child's laughter, a field of sunflowers, and the same road sign. They stumbled back outside, desperate to find their car. But the road had changed again. The buildings on both sides looked older now, almost newly abandoned. The streetlights were glowing faint amber, though there was no power line in sight. And then, voices began whispering through the fog. Not one voice, hundreds. Soft, overlapping whispers. They came back. Do they remember? He looks different. Mia covered her ears, shaking. Make it stop. Ethan, what's happening? He grabbed her hand, pulling her toward a building that looked like a small town hall. The doors were unlocked. Inside, rows of wooden chairs faced a large, faded mural. When they shined their phones at it, they realized it was a painting of the entire town. Every building, every road. But there were people painted too, standing in the windows and doorways. Dozens of them, and in the bottom corner, two figures holding cameras, one with brown hair, one with a ponytail. Mia gasped. That's us. No, Ethan stammered, stepping back. It can't be. A loud bang cut him off. The door slammed shut behind them. Dust rained from the ceiling. Their phone lights began to dim again, one by one. The mural seemed to move in the dark. The painted faces were turning toward them. Ethan pulled Mia close, whispering, It's a trick. There's some logical, but his voice faltered, because one of the painted faces, a little boy near the church, blinked. The air turned icy. A hum filled the room, low, vibrating through their bones. And then the voices started again, all at once, layered and wrong. You left us in the fire. You promised you'd come back. You were supposed to save us. Mia shook her head. No, this isn't real. We weren't even born then. Ethan was sweating. The fire. There was a fire in the reports. That's how the town vanished. He turned to her, eyes wide. What if it's not just a story? The mural cracked. A long black line spread across it, like a vein. Then another, until suddenly, the wall split open. Behind it, total darkness. Not a wall, not another room, a void. And from that void, they heard the same child's voice again. Come see what you left behind. Ethan stepped back. No, we're leaving. He pulled at the door. Locked. He kicked it, screamed, pounded. Mia was staring at the crack. Her phone flickered, showing flashes of what was inside. Not darkness, but flames. A burning street. People running, screaming. A little boy clutching something, a camera. Mia's voice broke. Ethan, that's you. He turned, shaking his head violently. No, that's not. The image stabilized for a moment. It was him. A child version of Ethan, terrified, covered in ash, standing in the middle of a burning street, holding the same model of camera. Behind him, the man in the hat stood in the fire, smiling. Ethan's breathing quickened. I don't remember this. I don't. The child on the screen looked straight at him and whispered, You said you'd help us leave. The screen went dark. The void pulled in the rest of the mural, chairs, dust, debris, all sucked into it like gravity. The floorboards bent. The hum grew into a roar. Mia screamed, grabbing Ethan's arm. Run. They ran toward a side door, bursting into what looked like an old library. The smell of smoke still lingered in the air. The shelves were filled with books, all unburnt. Ethan grabbed one at random, blowing dust off the cover. It read, Town Census, Silent Hollow. Mia shined her light over the open pages. Each line had a name and a date of birth. The last few pages were blank. Then the pen marks started again. Fresh ink. She read aloud, Ethan Vale, 1994. Mia Carter, 1996. She froze. That's us. The next line appeared as she watched the ink forming on its own. Date of death, October 26, 2025. Ethan's voice cracked. That's today. A whisper slid through the shelves. It always has been. The books began to fall, one by one. The lights above flickered violently. Ethan grabbed Mia's hand again and bolted toward the exit. The moment they reached the street, the fog was gone. It was day again, bright sunlight cutting through. They stood frozen, breathing hard. The town looked normal now. No broken windows, no boarded doors. Everything was alive. People walked down the sidewalks, children playing near the diner. A woman waved at them from across the street. Where are we? Mia whispered. Ethan couldn't answer, because across the diner window, he saw the reflection again. Only this time, they weren't standing outside it. They were inside the glass, watching the living versions of themselves walking down the street. The man in the hat appeared beside their reflection, his grin wide and cold. Told you, you always come back. Mia turned to run, but her body wouldn't move. The reflection version of her smiled faintly and whispered something she couldn't hear. Then the fog rolled back in, swallowing everything: light, sound, color. When it cleared, the town was empty again. The diner stood still, the sign flickering open over nothing but dust. The road stretched into silence. The old sign at the entrance still read, Silent Hollow, population 481. But now, the paint was still wet. And below it, two new names had been carved into the wood: Ethan Vale, Mia Carter. And the number had changed, for the first time in 50 years. Population 483. The world felt muffled. Ethan couldn't hear his own breathing. The fog had weight, like it wasn't air at all, more like water pressing against his chest. He reached out to touch Mia's arm, but his hand passed right through her for a second, before reality snapped back, and she stumbled forward, gasping. Did you feel that? She whispered. Ethan nodded weakly, like we're not all here. They stood in the middle of Silent Hollow's main street again, but something was off this time, subtly, impossibly off. The diner wasn't cracked or burned. The buildings looked clean, almost too new, but the sky was frozen in an orange hue, like the world was trapped in a single dying sunset. A soft wind blew through the town square, carrying the faint sound of children laughing. It came from the old schoolhouse, the one the report said burned down first. Ethan turned toward the sound. That's where it started. Mia hesitated. Ethan, please. Every time we go deeper, it gets worse. He stared at the building, expression hollow. If we don't figure this out, we'll never leave. The schoolhouse door creaked open before they touched it, revealing a corridor lined with lockers. The walls were covered in drawings, childish crayon sketches of houses, trees, and people holding hands. But as they walked deeper, the drawings changed. The figures grew darker. The smiles turned into scribbled mouths. The last picture near the classroom door was different, to stick figures with cameras, surrounded by red flames. Mia touched it lightly. They keep drawing us. Inside the classroom, desks were overturned, and the air reeked of ash. On the chalkboard, words had been written over and over again, in different handwriting. We stay because we remember. Memory is the door. He never forgets. A faint hum filled the room, like static building behind the walls. Then whispering again, "Do you remember, Ethan?" He spun around. Who said that? The voice grew clearer, childlike, coming from the back corner. "You promised to come back." Ethan's eyes darted around. There was no one there, just an old rocking chair, swaying slowly. Mia's phone light caught something etched into the desk nearby, a name E. Vale. "Ethan," she breathed. "This is your desk." He stared at it in disbelief. "No, I didn't grow up here. Maybe you did." Before he could respond, the room flickered a pulse of light, like a projector flash, and suddenly, the classroom wasn't abandoned anymore. It was full. Children laughing, the teacher writing on the board, sunlight streaming through the window. Ethan and Mia froze in place as the past replayed around them. A boy at the front, about 10 years old, dark hair, blue shirt, turned slightly in his chair. His face was unmistakable. Ethan's heart stopped. It was him. The teacher was talking about the upcoming festival. "Remember, class, the lantern parade starts right after sunset. Everyone gets to hang one on the bridge." The boy, young Ethan, raised his hand. "What if it rains?" The class laughed. The teacher smiled. "Then we'll dance in the rain, Ethan." The lights flickered again. Smoke began to fill the edges of the vision. The laughter turned into coughing. The teacher screamed. Flames crawled up the walls. Ethan watched, trembling, as his child self tried to drag another kid toward the door. The man in the hat stood in the doorway, blocking it, smiling. Mia shouted over the roaring fire, "Ethan, get out of there!" But they couldn't move. The vision was pulling them in. Ethan tried to grab her, but the floor beneath them melted into black ash. The air burned. Then, silence. They were standing in the same classroom again. Empty, burnt, cold. Ethan dropped to his knees, shaking. "It was me. I lived here. I was here when it happened." Mia crouched beside him. "You couldn't have. I remember now," he whispered. "My family moved away right after the fire. It wasn't an accident." He looked up at her, eyes wide. "It started in the basement. That's where he was." They ran from the schoolhouse, sprinting through the fog that had begun to rise again, thicker, heavier. The town twisted as they ran, streets bending in impossible directions. Doors leading nowhere, time itself folding around them. They finally reached the church at the end of the road. The doors were open, candlelight flickering inside. It was the same building Ethan had seen burning in his visions. Inside, the pews were lined with mannequins, lifelike figures of the townspeople, frozen mid. Some looked like they'd been carved from wax, others like real people, their skin gray and glassy. The altar was covered in black candles, all burning with blue flames, and behind it stood a figure tall, thin, dressed in an old black suit and wide hat. His face was half shadow, half smile. "Welcome home, Ethan." The voice was calm, deep, like someone speaking through an old radio. Ethan stepped forward, trembling. "Who are you?" The man tilted his head slightly. "You know who I am. You made me." Mia grabbed Ethan's arm. "Don't talk to it." The man ignored her. "You left when the fire came. You let them burn. But I stayed. I kept the town alive." Ethan's breath caught. You caused it." The man smiled wider. No, you did. I am the memory you tried to forget. I am the promise you broke. The candles flared. The mannequins turned their heads toward Ethan, eyes hollow. Mia screamed, "We have to go." They backed away as the man's shadow stretched across the floor, reaching for them. His voice echoed through the church, shaking the glass windows. Every town has a story. Every story needs someone to remember it. You remembered me. They burst through the doors, running into the open street, but the town wasn't the same anymore. Buildings stood at impossible angles, their edges glowing faintly red. The air shimmered like heat waves. Ethan could see layers of time overlapping the town before the fire, during it, and after, all flickering together. The sound of church bells began ringing. Even though the tower had long collapsed, the same words repeated over the echo. He never forgets. He never forgets. Mia's tears streamed down her face. Ethan, how do we stop it? He turned toward the bridge, the one from the teacher's memory, the lanterns. The festival? That was the night it started. If we find where it began, maybe we can break it. They ran through the flickering streets, each corner revealing another echo of the past. People laughing, then burning, then gone. Every sound, every voice felt close, as if the dead were walking beside them. Finally, they reached the bridge. The river below was dry now, just cracked earth and soot, but the bridge was covered in old paper lanterns, hundreds of them, hanging motionless in the dead air. Each one had a name written on it. Mia walked forward, tracing her hand over the lanterns. These are the townspeople. Ethan found one with his own name. The paper felt warm. He whispered, "I never made mine that night." Behind them, the man in the hat appeared again at the start of the bridge, his face unreadable. "You didn't need to. You made all of ours instead." The lanterns began to glow brighter, each one flickering like a trapped soul. The sound of crackling fire returned, faint at first, then rising, spreading. Ethan shouted over the roar. "What do you want from me?" The man's voice echoed through the fog. "To remember, that's all. Once you remember, you stay." Mia grabbed Ethan's hand. "No, we're not staying. We're not part of this." The man smiled. "You already are." The bridge shook violently. The paper lanterns caught fire, one by one, the flames traveling in a line toward them. The reflection in the riverbed flickered back to life, not dry anymore, but flowing again with black water. And in that reflection, Ethan saw himself and Mia, but they were already burning. He screamed, clutching her tighter. "Don't look." The flames raced closer, the sound of whispers blending into one voice, hundreds of overlapping words repeating his name, dragging it out into the air. "Ethan, come home." Mia's flashlight burst, plunging them into chaos. Ethan's world went white, heat pressing in from every side, and then everything stopped. They were standing in total silence. The bridge was untouched. The lanterns were whole. The fog had cleared completely, revealing a sky full of stars. The town lay still below them. Mia looked around, shaking. "Is it over?" Ethan didn't answer. He looked down into the river's reflection again. His reflection wasn't moving. It was still staring up at him, smiling faintly. And behind it, the man in the hat whispered one last time, "It's never over. Not until the story ends." The reflection blinked, and the lanterns began to sway again. The next morning, the police found only Daniel's car on the roadside, its engine still warm, headlights dimming under the mist. His camera lay on the passenger's seat, recording nothing but static until 3:07 a.m., when faint whispers began. They were soft, layered voices, repeating his name, begging him to come back. The video ended with the faint outline of figures walking through the fog, dozens of them, hand in hand, leading toward the heart of Silent Hollow. Locals sealed the area again after that night. Some say the fog has grown thicker, never lifting, even under the noon sun. Others swear they still hear faint footsteps on the road where Daniel disappeared. The authorities labeled it a tragic accident, but no body was ever found now. Travelers are warned never to stop near Silent Hollow after dark. Not for fuel, not for photos, not even to rest. Because those who do say the mist moves differently there, like it's breathing. And if you look too long into it, sometimes it looks back. No one knows what really haunts the ruins of Silent Hollow, only that it's still waiting. Patient as death itself. Patient as death itself.